You're useless to us now. Get out of this house in a week. I stop mid-sentence, staring at my reflection in the elevator's polished doors. 5 years ago, fresh out of a promotion celebration, my first real career milestone, those words had lodged in my throat. Now at 27, they still taste just as bitter. That day is etched in my memory like an old scar that never quite healed properly. I had just been promoted to junior account manager, a position I'd worked countless late nights for. The elevator doors opened to our family's traditional Sunday dinner, just like they had for the past 20 years. Mom was in the kitchen, the aroma of her signature pot roast filling the air. Dad sat in his worn leather armchair, newspaper crackling as he turned the pages. My older brother Nathan lounged on the couch, his then-girlfriend Madison perched beside him like a bird of prey. Guess what? I had announced, trying to contain my excitement. I got promoted. The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds, I counted them. Then Nathan's phone buzzed, and suddenly the room erupted with an entirely different energy. Speaking of good news, Mom beamed, wiping her hands on her apron. Nathan just secured funding for his new startup. $10 million in venture capital. And just like that, my promotion became a footnote in another chapter of the Nathan show. Looking back now, I should have seen it as a preview of things to come. But that was 5 years ago. Today, I'm standing in a different elevator, in a different building, with a different promotion under my belt. Senior account executive at Crawford & Associates, a position that makes my previous salary look like pocket change. The only downside? The commute is slowly killing me. 2 hours each way. 4 hours a day spent watching the world crawl by through bus windows and subway doors. After 2 weeks of this nightmare, I know something has to change. I need to find a place closer to the office. This Saturday, I make the familiar journey to my parents' house for our weekly family dinner. Some traditions die hard, even when they probably should. Mom's in her natural habitat, the kitchen, stirring something that smells amazing. Dad's in his usual spot, newspaper in hand, though these days it's a tablet he squints at instead. How's the new job going, sweetie? Mom asks, placing a steaming casserole on the table. Actually really good, I reply, helping her set out the plates. The familiar dance of Sunday dinner. The only problem is the commute. I'm thinking of looking for a new place to rent closer to work. That's when I notice it, that look my parents exchange, the one they've perfected over their 30-year marriage. Mom wipes her hands on her apron and sits down, her eyes gleaming with what I've learned to recognize as calculation masked as maternal concern. You know, Olivia, she says, we might have a solution for you. Remember Grandma Helen's old apartment? The one I inherited? Our tenants just moved out last week, and it's literally a 5-minute walk from your new office. I nearly dropped the fork I'm holding. Of course I remember that apartment. I'd spent countless weekends there as a kid when Grandma Helen was still alive. It was a cozy 2-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood, with huge windows and a small balcony where Grandma used to grow her beloved petunias. The location would be perfect, almost too perfect. How much would the rent be? I ask, trying not to sound too eager. Mom names a figure that makes my eyes widen. It's about 35% less than the average market price in that area. We'd give you a family discount, of course, she adds with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. I'll take it, I say immediately, not even trying to negotiate. The location is perfect, and the price is unbeatable. That's settled then, Dad says, finally looking up from his tablet. Now, did you hear about your brother's latest venture? He's really making waves in the delivery business. 3 new corporate clients just this week. And just like that, the conversation shifts to their favorite topic, Nathan's achievements. I sit there, pushing food around my plate, nodding at appropriate intervals as my parents gush about how their son is becoming a successful entrepreneur. It's always been like this. Nathan is the golden child, the risk taker, the one who dares to dream big. I'm just Olivia. The practical one. The safe one. The one who climbs the corporate ladder step by step while her brother builds castles in the air, castles our parents are always eager to furnish with their retirement savings. Moving day comes surprisingly quickly. The real shock arrives when I walk into Grandma Helen's apartment with the first box in my hands. The place is, well, let's just say the previous tenants hadn't exactly treated it like their own. The walls are covered in dated wallpaper that's peeling at the corners, there are mysterious stains on the ceiling, and the only piece of furniture is this ancient sofa that looks like it has survived several wars. Standing there, surrounded by the ghosts of my childhood memories and the reality of my present situation, I feel something shift inside me. 5 years ago, I let my promotion be overshadowed by Nathan's latest scheme. Now, looking at this apartment, my apartment, I make a silent promise to myself, this time will be different. I call Mom that evening, sitting cross-legged on that old sofa, the only place to sit in the entire apartment. Hey, Mom, would it be okay if I did some renovations? She sounds distracted, probably watching one of her cooking shows. Oh sure, honey. Just don't make it too bright. You know how I feel about those trendy neon colors everyone's using these days. I have to laugh at that. Mom, have you ever seen me wear anything brighter than navy blue? Trust me, I'm thinking more along the lines of earth tones and neutrals. That night, I dive deep into the internet, browsing through interior design websites and Pinterest boards. I create a whole mood board with my vision, warm grays, soft beiges, and the occasional deep blue accent. Everything will be understated but elegant, comfortable but put together. Just like me, I guess. Except this time, I won't let anyone else's story overshadow mine. The next few months become a blur of work and renovation. By day, I'm crunching numbers and managing accounts at the office. By night, I'm transforming this space into something that feels like home. Or at least, trying to. The wallpaper removal becomes my first real challenge. 3 weeks of evenings spent steaming, scraping, and occasionally swearing at particularly stubborn patches. Each strip that comes down reveals another layer of the apartment's history, and sometimes, my own. Remember when you used to help me water the petunias? Grandma Helen's voice echoes in my memory as I work near the balcony door. Even then, you were so careful, so precise. Not like your brother, he just dumped the whole watering can and hoped for the best. I smile at the memory, but it's tinged with something bitter. Even Grandma Helen, kind as she was, had unconsciously participated in the family's favorite pastime, comparing me to Nathan. Always the careful one, the precise one, the safe one. Never the exciting one, the creative one, the special one. The painting comes next. Who knew, just one more coat, would become my nightly mantra? I choose the colors carefully, warm gray for the living room, soft taupe for the bedroom, a barely there blue for the bathroom. Understated. Elegant. Controlled. Everything in my life has always been controlled. One evening, as I'm touching up the trim around the windows, my phone buzzes with a text from Mom. Coming by tomorrow to see the progress. Hope you're not making it too modern. My brush pauses mid-stroke. 6 weeks of work, and this is her first interest in the renovation. I text back a simple okay, and try to ignore the familiar anxiety creeping up my spine, that childhood need for approval I thought I'd outgrown. The next day, Mom walks through each room slowly, running her hand along the new kitchen countertops, examining the carefully chosen light fixtures, studying the subtle pattern on the wallpaper in the bedroom. I trail behind her, trying to read her expression, just like I did with every report card, every school project, every achievement throughout my life. Olivia, she says finally, turning to face me. This is remarkable. I nearly fall over. Mom isn't exactly free with her compliments, especially when it comes to me. But there she is, actually smiling, actually impressed. You did all this yourself, she asks, gesturing around the living room. I nod, trying not to look too pleased with myself. Well, YouTube tutorials helped a lot. And then she does something she hasn't done in years, she hugs me. A real hug, not one of those quick, obligatory ones she usually gives me at family gatherings. For a moment, I let myself believe that something has shifted, that maybe things can be different. 2 weeks later, I head to another family dinner, practically bouncing with excitement. I've gotten another promotion at work, senior account director, with a nice salary bump and my own team to lead. I can't wait to share the news. Mom, Dad, I say during a lull in the conversation, I have some good news. I got promoted at work. Mom barely glances up from her plate. That's nice, dear. She turns to Dad, her voice dropping. Have you heard from Nathan today? And just like that, the real dinner conversation starts. Turns out my brother's courier company is in trouble. A bigger competitor has moved into town, some national chain with fancy tracking apps and lower prices. Nathan's clients are jumping ship faster than rats from a sinking vessel. We're going to help him, Dad announces, pushing his plate away. We've decided to take out a loan. I nearly choke on my water. A loan? Look, maybe this is actually an opportunity. If he can't compete with this bigger company, maybe it's time to try something else. Starting over might be better than throwing good money after bad. The silence that follows is deafening. Mom and Dad exchange one of their looks, not the fond ones they usually share, but the kind that says they're disappointed in me. Again. You don't understand business, Olivia, Dad says finally, his voice stern. You've always played it safe with your office jobs. Your brother is an entrepreneur. He takes risks. Family always helps family, Mom adds firmly. That's what we do. I open my mouth to argue, then close it again. What's the point? They've already made up their minds. I could tell them I've discovered the cure for cancer, and they'd still be more concerned about Nathan's delivery vans. The next 6 months are like watching a slow-motion car crash. Mom calls occasionally to update me on the situation, though I never ask. The loan they took out bought Nathan some new vans and helped him lower his prices, but it wasn't enough. The competitor keeps expanding, keeps taking clients, keeps pushing their fancy app and next-day delivery promises. Meanwhile, I pour myself into my work and my apartment. Every spare dollar goes into making this space more mine. Built-in bookshelves in the living room. New hardwood floors throughout. A kitchen island that's perfect for both cooking and late-night laptop sessions. Each improvement feels like a declaration of independence, a quiet rebellion against the family narrative. I'm not just the careful one anymore, I'm the one who builds, who creates, who transforms. Even if no one else sees it that way. Then comes the call I've been expecting all along. Your brother's company went bankrupt, Mom says, her voice tight with emotion. He and Madison have moved in with us temporarily. Just until they get back on their feet. I grip my phone tighter, thinking about my quiet prediction at that dinner 6 months ago. I'm sorry to hear that, I say, because what else can I say? I told you so? They're sleeping in your old room, Mom continues. Madison's taking it pretty hard, you know how she is about appearances. Yeah, I know how my sister-in-law is. Madison has always looked down her nose at my simple office job, preferring to remind everyone at family gatherings that she was married to a CEO. I wonder how she's handling living with her in-laws now. That weekend, I drive to my parents' house, telling myself it's just another family dinner. But as soon as I walk through the door, the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Nathan is sprawled on the living room couch, scrolling through his phone. He barely looks up when I enter, offering only a grunt that might have been hey. Madison is perched on the armchair like she's sitting on a throne, her designer handbag placed carefully at her feet. She gives me one of her trademark looks, the kind that suggests I'm something she'd found stuck to her shoe. Dinner's ready, Mom calls, and we all gather around the table. I should have known better than to hope for a quiet meal. Nathan launches into what feels like a rehearsed speech about his business troubles before I've even picked up my fork. I had everything under control, he insists, gesturing with his knife. The business was growing, we were expanding. Then these corporate vultures moved in with their fancy technology and deep pockets. They probably spent millions on marketing, Madison adds, pushing her food around her plate. How is a small business supposed to compete with that? Exactly. Nathan slams his hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. They're just bullies with bigger budgets. And don't get me started on those idiots at the bank who wouldn't extend our credit line. Complete morons who wouldn't know a good business opportunity if it bit them in the... Maybe, I interrupt, unable to help myself, this is just how business works. Competition is part of the game. You have to plan for these possibilities when you start a company. The silence that follows is absolute. For pairs of eyes stare at me like I've just suggested we should all start eating rocks for breakfast. Plan? Nathan sneers. Easy for you to say from your cushy office job. What do you know about running a real business? I just think. I start, but Dad's warning look makes me shut my mouth. I focus on my plate instead, pushing my peas into neat little rows, just like I used to do as a kid when I was trying to disappear from uncomfortable family discussions. I can't take living here much longer, Madison announces suddenly, her voice dripping with dissatisfaction. No offense, she adds, not sounding sorry at all, but I need my own space. Nathan immediately perks up like a puppet on strings. Hey, Mom, what about Grandma Helen's old apartment? You still own that, right? My head snaps up. I'm living there, I say quickly. And I've renovated it completely. Oh yes, Mom nods, suddenly animated. Olivia's done a wonderful job with the place. It looks absolutely beautiful now. I see the look that passes between Nathan and Madison, quick, calculating, meaningful. Something cold settles in my stomach, but I push the feeling away. I'm being paranoid. They wouldn't. Would they? Wednesday evening, I'm coming home from work, my mind already on the leftovers waiting in my fridge and the new Netflix series I've been saving. But when I reach my floor, I stop dead in my tracks. There are voices coming from my apartment. Familiar voices. I open my door to find Mom, Nathan, and Madison standing in my living room like they own the place. Madison is running her hand along the new curtains I'd hung just last month, custom-ordered Belgian linen that cost me 2 weeks' worth of lunch money. Mom? I try to keep my voice steady. What's going on? You could have called to say you were coming over. Mom waves her hand dismissively, not even looking at me. Don't be ridiculous, Olivia. This is my apartment. I don't need permission to visit. My mouth goes dry. Something about her tone sends warning bells ringing through my head. I watch as Madison continues her tour of my apartment, inspecting everything like she's a real estate agent doing an evaluation. She runs her fingers along the new kitchen counter I had installed, peers into the freshly painted bathroom, and nods approvingly at the built-in bookshelves I'd added to the living room. Finally, she settles herself on the sofa, the old one I'd kept from before the renovation, and smiles that cat got the cream smile of hers. This is perfect. We can move in next week. The world seems to tilt sideways. Excuse me? I live here. This is my home. I renovated it. I am. Mom cuts in, her voice sharp. I decide who lives here. But all the work I did. I gesture around at the walls I'd painted, the floors I'd refinished, the countless hours of labor I'd poured into this place. I transformed this apartment. Oh yes, Mom's smile turns calculating. Actually, since you've improved the apartment so much, the market value has gone up significantly. If you want to stay, the new rent will be 4 times what you're paying now. The blood drains from my face as everything clicks into place. They'd planned this. Mom knew I couldn't afford 4 times the rent, my promotion was good, but not that good. You're trying to force me out, I say, my voice barely a whisper. Mom shrugs, not even bothering to deny it. If you can't afford the new rent, you should probably start looking for another place. You have a week to move out. Without waiting for my response, they head for the door. Madison is already on her phone, presumably making moving plans. Nathan hasn't said a word the entire time, he doesn't need to. Mom pauses in the doorway but doesn't turn around. 1 week, she repeats, then pulls the door shut behind them. I stand in the middle of my living room, the living room I had painted, decorated, made into a home, and feel the walls closing in. The proud warmth I'd felt showing Mom my renovation just months ago turns to ashes in my mouth. For a moment, I'm 10 years old again, standing in my bedroom after Nathan had broken my science fair project, the one I'd spent weeks on. Mom had said the same thing then, don't be difficult, Olivia. Your brother didn't mean to. Family helps family. Family helps family. The phrase echoes in my head, but this time, instead of making me fold into myself like it usually does, it makes something snap inside me. While my family probably expects me to spend that evening crying into my pillow, I'm already on my phone, scrolling through rental listings. By midnight, I've found the perfect place, a modern one-bedroom just 2 blocks from my office. The rent is higher than what I'd been paying Mom, but I don't care. First thing Thursday morning, I call in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. By 9 a.m., I've toured the new apartment. By 10 a.m., I've signed the lease and paid the deposit. The landlord, a no-nonsense woman named Janet, raises an eyebrow when I ask if I could move in immediately. Next stop, a moving company. I find one that specializes in same-day moves and don't mind paying the rush fee. While waiting for them to arrive, I go through my apartment, no, Mom's apartment, with post-it notes, marking everything I bought with my own money. The movers arrive at 2 p.m. I stand in the living room, directing traffic like a conductor. The gray sectional? Mine. The dining table and chairs? Mine. All the kitchen appliances except the stove and fridge? Mine. Those bookshelves I installed myself? They're coming too. Item by item, my things go into the truck. The coffee maker I'd splurged on after my promotion. The memory foam mattress I'd bought during a Black Friday sale. The TV mount I'd installed myself after watching 3 different YouTube tutorials. Everything I'd purchased to make this place a home, all of it goes into boxes and onto the truck. When they finish, the apartment looks almost exactly as it had the day I moved in. Empty walls. Bare floors. And that old sofa sitting alone in the middle of the living room like a captain going down with his ship. I take one last look around, remembering all the weekends I'd spent painting these walls, all the evening hours I'd invested in making this place beautiful. Then I lock the door, drop my keys in an envelope, and slip them under my parents' front door on my way to the new apartment. I spend that night setting up my new apartment, arranging furniture until everything feels right. It's smaller than Grandma Helen's place, but somehow it feels bigger. Freer. It isn't until the next morning that all hell breaks loose. The calls start at 7 a.m. Mom. Nathan. Madison. Mom again. Nathan again. I watch my phone buzz across my new kitchen counter, taking a slow sip of coffee from my relocated coffee maker. After the 6th call, I finally pick up. How dare you? Mom's voice explodes through the speaker. The apartment is completely empty. Your brother and Madison have nowhere to sleep except that old sofa. You had no right to take all that furniture. I take another sip of coffee, feeling surprisingly calm. Actually, I had every right. I bought everything with my own money. I have all the receipts if you'd like to see them. I left what was there originally, you know, that sofa you were so happy to let me use. There's a moment of silence, then Mom calls me something that would have made Grandma Helen wash her mouth out with soap. The call ends with a click. My phone starts buzzing again within 30 minutes of Mom's call, this time with message notifications. Nathan and Madison have apparently tag-teamed to blow up my messenger app. You vindictive witch. That's from Madison. How dare you take everything? You're just jealous because Nathan's a real entrepreneur and you're just a paper pusher. Nathan's messages aren't any better. You selfish piece of work. You've always been jealous of my success. Now you're trying to punish us just because we're going through a rough patch. Real classy, sis. Real classy. The messages keep coming, each one more vitriolic than the last. According to my dear brother and his wife, I'm greedy, heartless, vindictive, petty, cruel, selfish, and my personal favorite, a soulless corporate drone who wouldn't know family loyalty if it bit her in the face. I read each message once, then close the app without responding. Instead of engaging with their drama, I throw myself into settling into my new place. I arrange my furniture, decorate the walls, and start building a new life. Looking around at my new apartment, I realize something. This is the first space that's truly mine. Not a hand-me-down from family, not a gift with strings attached, but something I chose and paid for myself. Something they can't take away. For the first time in my life, I'm not just the practical one, the safe one, the good daughter who always falls in line. I'm just me. And maybe that's enough. A month passes without any contact from my family. I'd love to say I don't think about them, but that would be a lie. Every now and then, I catch myself wondering how they're doing, if they've managed to furnish the apartment, if mom still makes her famous lasagna for Sunday dinners. But I push those thoughts away each time they surface. They made their choice. Then exactly 1 month after the move, my phone lights up with mom's number. I almost don't answer, but some combination of curiosity and lingering hope makes me pick up. The rent payment didn't come through, she says without preamble, her voice accusatory. I can't help it, I laugh. Of course it didn't. I don't live there anymore, remember? You kicked me out. That's not the point, mom snaps. We're expecting you to continue the payments. My laugh dies in my throat. Excuse me? We're having a very difficult time right now, Olivia, she says. We're still paying off the loan we took out for Nathan's business, and he can't afford to pay rent right now. The family needs your help. Let me get this straight, I say slowly, gripping my phone tighter. You kicked me out of the apartment so Nathan and Madison could move in, and now you want me to keep paying rent for an apartment I'm not living in just so they can live there for free? Family helps family, mom says as if that explains everything. You know we're struggling with the loan payments, and Nathan's still trying to get back on his feet. That phrase again. How many times have I heard it over the years? Always when they needed something from me, never when I needed support myself. Something inside me finally snaps. Really? Is that what family does? My voice is surprisingly steady now. Does family kick one child out onto the street to make room for another? Does family take someone's home away and then demand they keep paying for it? You're being dramatic. No, Mom. I'm being realistic for the first time in my life. I'm seeing things exactly as they are. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. When Mom speaks again, her voice is cold. I'm very disappointed in you, Olivia. I actually laugh at that. Funny. I was just about to say the same thing to you. I end the call and immediately block her number. Then in quick succession, I block Dad's number, Nathan's, and Madison's. I open every messaging app on my phone and block them there too. For good measure, I go through all my social media accounts and block them as well. It feels like cutting off a limb, but somehow I'm finally able to breathe. Weeks pass, then months. Through the family grapevine, mainly my cousin Lucy, who's always been decent to me, I hear bits and pieces about what's happening. Nathan has apparently come up with another brilliant business idea, something about artisanal pet food delivery, or maybe it's organic food subscription boxes. Lucy isn't quite sure. My parents are making the rounds, asking various relatives for startup money. Most of them have enough sense to refuse. Only Uncle Derek, notorious for charging interest rates that would make a loan shark blush, offered to help. Even my parents weren't desperate enough to take him up on that offer. The last thing I hear is that they're considering taking out another loan to fund Nathan's latest venture. Lucy tells me this over coffee one Saturday, watching me carefully for my reaction. What do you think about that? She asks. I stir my latte, considering the question. 6 months ago, I would have been worried sick. 3 months ago, I would have been angry. Now, not my circus, not my monkeys, I say, and am surprised to find I mean it. Lucy grins. You seem different, she says. Happier. I think about my new apartment, decorated exactly how I want it. About my recent promotion at work, the one I celebrated with my team instead of my family. About the cooking classes I've started taking on weekends, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for when I was renovating the old apartment. I reply. I really am. That evening, I sit on my couch, in my apartment, with a glass of wine, thinking about everything that's happened. The woman I was 6 months ago feels like a stranger now. She was always trying to squeeze herself into the shape they wanted her to be, the reliable one, the practical one, the one who would always be there to help clean up Nathan's messes. But somewhere between ripping out that old wallpaper and building my new life, I found something I didn't even know I was looking for, myself. I walked to my balcony, smaller than the one at Grandma Helen's place, but mine in a way that one never was. I've started growing herbs here. Not petunias like Grandma used to grow, but basil, thyme, and rosemary. Plants that are useful but also beautiful in their own right. Plants that don't need to be showy to have value. My phone buzzes with a text from one of my team members, sending me a funny meme about spreadsheets. Below that is a message from Janet, my landlord, asking if I want to join her monthly book club. And there's an email from my cooking class instructor sharing a new recipe we might try next week. None of these people are family in the traditional sense. But they see me for who I am, not who they need me to be. Maybe that's what real family is, not the people who demand your help while dismissing your needs, but the ones who celebrate your successes without trying to overshadow them. Mom's words echo in my head one last time, family helps family. They were right about one thing, family should help family. But somewhere along the way, they'd forgotten that help should go both ways, that love should be unconditional, that family means supporting each other's growth, not enabling each other's failures. I take another sip of wine and smile. I had spent so many years being the practical one that I had forgotten something crucial. Sometimes the most practical thing you can do is walk away from people who take you for granted, especially, if they're family. Looking out over the city lights, I feel a sense of peace I've never known before. The weight of being the good daughter has lifted, replaced by the lightness of being simply myself. I don't have to be the practical one or the reliable one or any other label they tried to stick on me. I just have to be Olivia. And for the first time in my life, that feels like more than enough. I think about the herbs growing on my balcony, the team that celebrates my successes at work, the new friends I'm making in my cooking class. These are the seeds of my new life, planted in soil I chose myself, growing at their own pace without the shadow of family expectations looming over them. This isn't the story of the practical daughter who always does what's expected of her. This is the story of a woman who finally realized that taking care of herself isn't selfish, it's essential. I had better things to do than try to fix people who didn't want to be fixed. Much better things indeed. And the best part. Every single one of those things was my choice. My life. My story. Finally, beautifully, unequivocally mine.